Leading this panel, we have Brian Solis, who I'm sure is known to many of you, digital analyst, sociologist, and futurist, author of Engage, which is the complete guide to build and measure success in the social web, and a very prominent thought leader about the social web and new media. So without further ado, I will welcome now Brian Solis.
I was kind of waiting for Tony to get up and start dancing, but I guess we missed that opportunity. All right, hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you didn't just finish lunch, because we can't have any naps during this session. It's too short, it's too short. Okay, well, we have a very good discussion. I'm going to introduce who we have on stage with us, and then we'll talk a little bit about, well, I'll define what we're talking about in a moment. Is this better? Yes, okay. I was teasing you. All right, well, this session is, well, it's based on a discussion that Loic and I had recently. He had written a blog post called My Body API. And I had written a series of posts about the personal operating system. And we thought it would be a good idea to bring these two things together. The personal operating system that I was referring to is this idea of how we are designing our experiences around us, whether it's social networks, whether it's mobile applications. We are just defining us by who we connect with, what we share, and the applications and products that we use. Loic mentioned with My Body API that appliances and devices are now coming out, that we are connecting to us as human beings to do things like fitness, better health, better sleep, etc. So that's what we're going to talk about, but we're also going to talk about the boundaries and its future. So with that, I'm going to introduce here from my left, Cedric Hutchings. You are the co-founder of Withings. We have Jason Jacobs, the founder of RunKeeper. And I think everybody knows Tony Conrad, but just for the sake of an official introduction, he's the founding venture partner at True Ventures, and he is also now the co-founder of About.me. So why don't you, each of you, just take a quick minute to tell us what you're working on right now. Okay, Cedric, you first.
Thanks, Brian. So Cedric Hutchings, co-founder of Withings. What we're doing at Withings is developing a new generation of device and actually some kind of sensors. Our first product has been a Wi-Fi body scale. And what we're working on now is developing new products. We will soon announce two new products. And also developing the link between these sensors, these captors, and the service and the guys who are using it in their environment. So actually, just a word about Jason to introduce that I met with Jason last year at LeWeb. And what we did is, since then, is linking our service by providing a way for RunKeeper user to have their weight updated directly within their RunKeeper environment. So that's kind of turned out to Jason.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Cedric. I'm Jason Jacobs. I'm the founder of FitnessKeeper, and we're the creators of the RunKeeper mobile fitness platform. And we see huge innovations happening with fitness sensors, whether it be standalone devices or mobile applications or physical equipment at the gym. All of these new devices are becoming connected and collecting more interesting types of fitness data. And what we're all about is tying all of this data together in one place and building a virtual platform on top of it that drives healthier behavior through a mix of analytics and coaching and game mechanics and social accountability, a virtual system not unlike what you would find at the gym through things like a step aerobics class or a spinning class, but initially specifically focused on running. We started on the iPhone. We were one of the first 200 applications in the iPhone App Store. We're now on Android as well, and we've got additional smartphone platforms coming. And we've also started integrating with physical devices like Garmin watches and Polar heart rate monitors, and of course, the Withings scales. Over time, we see great value in enabling users to keep their data in one place, make it easy to store that data, and give them motivation and coaching and community and fun so that over time, they get healthier. We've got over 3 million users and growing, and I'll leave anything else for later on in the discussion.
Thanks, and with that, we're out of time. Just kidding.
There we go. I'm Tony Conrad. So one of the things we've been working on at True for the last couple of years, one of the themes we've been interested in is personal analytics, and it seems like people have an insatiable appetite to kind of look in the mirror, you know, kind of like glean insights about themselves. And one of our earliest investments that I think took advantage of this incredibly well was WordPress. And Matt Mullenweg, I think, had the kind of the genius and the insight to understand that bloggers not only wanted to blog and publish things out there and drive traffic, but they also wanted to be able to look at, you know, the data. How many people are visiting the blog post? What are they doing with it? And I think the genius of that was that even if you were not going to blog on that particular morning or that week or that month, you still had an incentive to wake up in the morning and come to your blog and see like what's happened, right? So kind of carrying that theme forward, we have a number of investments, a couple that are I think super exciting that stand out. One is a company called Rescue Time, which monitors, you opt in, but it allows you to monitor what you're doing across the web and understand what your usage patterns are. Like, so how much time are you really spending gaming or in social networks and things like that, so you can set up tools to help you self-monitor, right, and be more productive. Another one is Fitbit, which we think is very, very interesting. Very simple concept around understanding how active you're being, right? It's just a little pedometer that you stick in your pocket, and it just measures how many steps you take. It also measures how you sleep. So it's just, once again, people, you know, the device itself, I think, has one certain value, but the data and your ability to interact with the data has tremendous value. Carrying that theme forward, in my other role as a co-founder of About.me, the two kind of themes I was interested in was the intersection of personal branding and personal analytics. And I felt like we didn't have a very simple way just to kind of represent ourselves online. We have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we have all these things, all services that I love, all founders that I like very much. But I felt like we were missing something very simple to put in your email signature line. And hence the idea of About.me was born. And even though I kind of laugh, I say it's a little lame at times. I kind of look at it and go like, wow, you know, we should do something a little more ambitious than this. It's really resonated. We have over 500,000 people that have signed up and are excited about it in just a little over 5 weeks. And it seems to have taken on a life of its own, where I think we're tapping into this little simple concept of, I want to manage my identity. I want some tools that tell me how many people interact with my profile, what they do when they get there, where they go when they leave, how'd they get there in the first place. Just very block and tackling type stuff.
Thanks, Tony. All right, so there's this idea that, you know, goes all the way back in terms of philosophy and sociology, not so much about how we see ourselves, but we live life as how we want to see ourselves. And what we are seeing in terms of social networking, especially this idea of the things that you're invested in, Tony, and the companies that you're founding, is that we're now weaving this idea of social networking, so the socialization of information, the socialization of connections, living in public, in a way to help us maybe become the people we always saw ourselves as. I want each of you to talk to me a little bit about how you are weaving in social elements into this and why. So let's start with you.
So I'm not sure I got your question, but what we are trying at Withings is really finding what we are doing is removing the frontier between my physical surrounding and my physical body and my digital personality, my digital life. We do it in many ways. The most important ways for us is to make the sensor and the device as simple as possible. It does not have to put a new routines in your daily life. It has to be part of your natural and usual surrounding. So we really make the frontier disappear between my, again, my myself, my body, and some of my identities. One of the way we did it is to activate some link, very typical social network tools like Twitter. It's a funny example. We try to reproduce what is your behavior when you state an objective, let the people know around it, around you, and ask for feedback. Yep. What we did is to enable as an option the possibility to have your weight track automatically tweeted after you state about your objectives. So that might sound very extreme, but we have been also very surprised by at which level this option was used. Mm-hmm. And it's very much used, and you like to share as directly and as smoothly as possible some of your data about your own personality.
Because would you say that you were pleasantly surprised because it was people felt rewarded for sharing, in the sense that people were responding like, hey, that's great, good for you, keep it up?
Yes, exactly. So it's what we found out is that there is really no difference in the behavior that you have in your closed environment and the way you want to get some feedback. And finally, the one you can get from a much larger network, from your Twitter, your Facebook network, or some of members of your RunKeeper community. It's really the same mechanism, and we are being surprised by the way it has been adopted.
Yes. So Jason, we've seen that in terms of as we as human beings are learning to live a little bit more in public, some of the early rewards for us were responses or requests for connections, retweets, comments. But now, because this is such an emotional ecosystem, this, the social web, what else are we seeing in terms of rewards, and where do you see it going?
Well, it's amazing how sometimes just a little tweak to what your application does can reap tremendous benefits as far as its effectiveness as a trainer. And I'll give you an example. So our application does GPS tracking for fitness enthusiasts. So you can use your phone to track how long your run took you, how far you went, how many calories you burned, the path that you travel on a map. So if I'm out doing that and it's just me, and I get tired halfway through, and I stop and I walk the rest of the way home, well, I'm kind of disappointed in myself on the way home, but nobody really notices, and nobody's really going to ask me how my run went, and if they did, maybe I'd lie. But if I'm out and I know that my activity is going to be automatically posted to my Facebook and my Twitter accounts when I finish, or even better, if I'm broadcasting it live as I'm doing it, both of which we do, by the way, that is like a personal trainer sitting on my shoulder. I'm on stage, just like I am right now, the same feeling I have in front of all of you and everybody that on the web with the broadcast, I've got when I'm running, knowing that seemingly everybody in the world is watching me run. Now, nobody might actually be following my Facebook stream or my Twitter feed, but just thinking that everybody's watching makes me run faster and makes me run further and harder. And then when I get back, seeing all the comments of encouragement encourages me to get out next time and do even better. So that's just a small example, but these little things you can do that really fundamentally change your social accountability and your accountability in general that leads to better results.
And Tony, like Withings and your investments that you're working on, we see this sort of fusion between device and person now, and adapting it also to the web and extending it through all of the social graphs of the people using these devices. So what else do we see? What are not just some of the rewards, but just as human beings, where are we taking this and why?
Yeah, I think what all this is about is control. Ultimately, right? Because you're opting in your device. You're opting in to broadcast it out to this group of people. It's not, in most cases, just a random group of people. It's people that you've chosen to enable to follow you, or you've followed back. You have some reciprocal relationship. So you've got a group of people. I know in Fitbit, it's very much about who am I comfortable telling that I weigh X pounds, or that I'm on this diet, or I eat like a cow, or whatever it is I do. So I think ultimately this stuff is about control. I know one of the goals that we were trying to achieve in About.me, Chris Sacca said it really well. He said, dude, he said, 6-7 years ago, because of Valleywag, I felt hounded, and I would go to Google, and I'd Google my name, and I'd be like, am I living that life? Because that's a rock star life. That's a great life. I'd love to live that. But he said, the problem was people that didn't know me were also going to Google, and that's what they were forming an opinion about me right there. He says, and that sucked. And so he says, I learned a lot about SEO. And I started building my own kind of pages and all this kind of stuff in order, because you can't make those results go away, but I can certainly push them down to page 2, page 3. So I think why he joined us as an advisor early on is because he totally grokked the idea. He's like, oh, this gives me an opportunity to have a page that maybe surfaces much higher in those Google results, which sets the stage about how somebody might form an opinion about me. And I think, once again, that's about control, right? It's controlling your identity, it's controlling your data. All those themes, I think, are going to become much more prevalent here as we move forward.
I like that idea. I think it's a bit of control, and then a bit of, for us who are intoxicated with tools like Twitter and Facebook and the ability to share what we think when we think it, it almost started to erode this layer of inner monologue that we had for a reason. And there was sharing and oversharing. But now we see things, for example, a person that we probably all know, Tara Hunt, who has been posting pictures of her weight loss, of her regimen, her working out, of what we see with some of your devices, and just the comments that she receives and the support and the enthusiasm. But I wonder how much of this is too much, right? Because then I would imagine that some of these things start to show up in Google search results, and you're not there to shape them. And so I want you to talk to us a little bit about your About.me program and how you're trying to empower people with a little bit more control.
Yeah, the ultimate goal here, so we have what I call, an MVP product, a minimum viable product. It's bare minimum that we'd feel comfortable putting out. And what it does now is enables you to build your profile on the front end, and then gives you some basic data. But what's really interesting is that most people add services like Twitter and Facebook and whatever they're into on social media, they add it to their account. And in the process of doing that, they OAuth, which means they enable there to be a relationship between themselves, our product, and that third party. So in this case, maybe Twitter. So we see all the data. And what's interesting is, what can you do with that data? Right? How can you create a mirror that somebody can hold up to themselves and go, holy shit, I did that? Or this is what that looks like on the outside world. I tweet, 216 times per week, and the average person does it, 18 times. Maybe it's a little too much information, or maybe that's good with my strategy. So I think the next set of tools that we'll add to this product will go deeper and deeper into the data analytics kind of field. We call it data stacks. It's just today I think it's very weak, but where it goes, I think, is very interesting and exciting.
Good, all right. So Jason and Cedric, as we're opting in to both machines as well as the web, we're basically plugging in a little bit about who we are and who we want to become. And we share that with people. But we also look at, every now and then, the discussion of privacy, right? I think we all have been guilty of saying things we probably regretted, or doing things we probably regretted to find on the web later. But one of the things that I found was always interesting is that, for example, Facebook always takes it right on the nose in terms of privacy. People are surprised that something they publicly shared is found in the public. Do you guys see any issues in terms of privacy, not now, but down the road? Maybe somebody has this idea of remorse or regret that they were sharing this at a moment in time when it actually felt right to do so. Let's start with you, Jason, and then Cedric.
Sure. So I personally see great power in what becomes possible by sharing, not only in the moment while you're doing your activity, but over time, you not only see your own progress, but how you compare against that aggregate data set. So the richer the aggregate data set, the more you can learn about yourself. That being said, I think that everybody's got a different kind of toggle when it comes to what they're comfortable sharing and what they're not. So there's a few keys. One is transparency. You need to be open about what happens to that data, what doesn't happen to that data, what is public, what is private, and also it's about customization. So for example, with RunKeeper, we're a small company with limited resources, so we've got two privacy toggles. One is all the way off, and one is all the way on. So we've been drilled for the last year by our community that said, will you give me something in the middle? I just want to share with my friends, but I don't want to share with the whole world. And that's coming very soon, and the reason it is that it's clear that there are different levels and stages, and so I think giving people the ability to benefit from the full scope of what's possible is important, because that's really at the bleeding edge. That's what's going to drive this kind of sea change when it comes to all of these sensors and a healthier world on a macro scale. But that being said, I think that the people that are more private and don't want to share as much have that right, and we should absolutely make it possible for them to lock it down as much as they want to, so that they can also benefit from the system as well.
Cedric?
Yes, I just on what Jason said, and the most important commitment on our part is also these two words, is transparency and control by the end user. Our company is based in France, where the question about privacy is very, very important, and it's the way we tackle this was one of our very first step when we founded the company. So it was the most important question we had. And about the toggle and configuration, how much of it I want to share, I mentioned these Twitter, Facebook words. A lot of our user has not activated this sharing, and it's very important to notice that having a smart sensor that can not only report the data at a certain time, but track for you, make some history, some graphical trends, makes yourself also engaging in a long-term, control and monitoring on your health. A lot of people are using the Wi-Fi body scale and will use our device by having their monitoring in their pocket for themselves, not their doctors, even, or not other members of the family. We added some, privacy even within the home. We don't think that in every case you want to share your weight, even with your partners or some people at your home, and you keep it in your pocket on your iPhone, Android phone application.
Very good. Okay, so you wanted to add in, Tony?
Yeah, I do, actually. Because I think it's a bit of a false problem. I really do. The risk of saying something here gets me in trouble. I think privacy for a long time has been one of these fool's gold issues. And I think that we as people that are building services and products, absolutely 100% responsible for empowering our users, right? To decide what is made public and what's not, and to make sure that we adhere to the absolute best practices and not tricking them in. I've even had companies in our portfolio where I have been tricked into, sending out a note to my entire address book, right? And it makes my hair stand up as a user. But I think what you're asking about a little bit is there's a trail, yes, and we evolve as individuals. And I think that is the fool's gold issue. I don't think that services, Google, search engines have a responsibility to allow you to go back and delete certain things that maybe, damn, 6 years ago I wish I wasn't doing that up on that table, but that's what I did. Because it doesn't mirror what happens in the real world. You get fired from a job 7 or 8 years ago, you can't make it disappear. It's part of the reality of your fabric, right? I think back to a conversation that I had 100 years ago with my father when I was a young man, and I was thinking about leaving a job after 1 year. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you can't do that." He said, he said, I can't, I'm imploring you not to leave your job until at least 3 years. And I think you should try to stay 5 to 10, because it'll look really bad on your resume. And I'm like, dude, this is not working for me. I'm out, I'm not gonna do this. And I was just, the guy who founded LiveOps, Maynard, he came to speak to us the other day, and he made a point. He said, today in the Valley, this isn't everywhere, but in the Valley, when you see a resume and somebody who's been in a job for 10 years, you think they're a loser. Wow. Now, I don't particularly, subscribe to that thought, but I thought it was interesting, right? The juxtaposition of that comment versus what my father had told me 20-some years ago, and it's like, wow, you want to be active, you want to be moving. So I think the way people interpret, the things that we're doing now, because it's so social, I think society evolves, and they kind of look at it 10 years out and go, well, okay, yeah. I mean, everybody had a little bit of that period. Everybody posted the pictures like Zuckerberg did, or whatever he did in Facebook. Like, everybody did that. What's the big deal? People evolve, they grow, and they move on.
All right, we're going to open it up to some questions.
Yeah, we have a question over here. Please identify yourself.
Hi. Hello. Hello? Okay, it works. Hi, I'm Andrea Vascellari. I'm the CEO of itiv.net. And I'm in love with your app, actually, RunKeeper. And I'm addicted to sport. Like, I work out a lot, and I love it so much that I encourage also the members of my team to practice sport, because I've noticed that they are more productive. They come up with the best ideas when they're doing sport and when they work out. So I encourage them to use RunKeeper. And our favorite feature is basically the possibility you have to build up your own team, let's say. And so I've noticed that what you mentioned before, like the fact they know that other people are watching them, encourage them to run more or faster. And so I was wondering if you're planning to bring in maybe some additional features to the teams, in RunKeeper, and if yes, which features those would be?
Question from a fan.
Yeah.
Hold the microphone close.
First of all, thank you for the kind words. I'm very glad to hear that the product's working well for you. Without getting too deep into the weeds on the features and functionality, I'll say that what you see today is a very limited subset of what will ultimately be. And we've been around for 2 years, so although we're 2 years older than we were when we started, we're still a very young company, and also the space is very young. So the innovations that are coming in fitness sensors are really just at the beginning, and the innovations that are coming in smartphones are really just at the beginning, and the innovations that are coming in physical equipment and its implications for sport and health are really just at the beginning. So overall, whether it's RunKeeper or something else, we believe that the innovations that are going to be happening in this area in the years to come are going to be staggering. And as it's specific to RunKeeper, certainly we plan on trying our best to keep up with the pace. So.
Good.
One.
Maybe I eventually it was more linked to the social side of it. Like, if you're planning to, enable people to do more within the team, because it seemed to be anyway very productive.
Yeah, so so we've got a street team concept, which is similar to kind of the Facebook feed, and that is the first foray into social. And now we've got these fitness classes, which are social, and we've got the RunKeeper live tracking, which is social. And so we are definitely heading in a more social direction. We're also heading in a more kind of personal, individual analytics and goal setting. And so I think there's a lot of things coming, but certainly social is an area we'll be innovating in heavily in the months and years to come.
We have another question here.
Hi, my name is Erno Hanning. I have a question for you. Either of you, do you have kids? Do you have children? You have children. You have children. So,
I'm getting married in a month. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. So if you talked about your dad, right? So that he said to you, if you 10 years, that's the least you should do. And you said, your picture's gonna be on Facebook, and you didn't want to do that in the past, maybe, but it's on now. Do you warn your kids? Do you warn your kids to prevent them to put stupid pictures on Facebook or whatever?
Do you want to go first, Tony?
Absolutely. I have a 16 and a 14-year-old. Of course I do. But it's not my job to censor them. It's my job to teach them to be young adults, right? It's my job to let them go. That's my role as a father. And I can't go in and manage and control my son's life. I've seen things he's done on Facebook, and I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, dude, you can't do that, because in the beginning they let you see, right? They might even friend you in the beginning, and then that there's a day where whoa, that ain't happening anymore. So yeah, absolutely, but he's gonna make mistakes. They're gonna both make mistakes online. And, I think back reflecting on the comment I made, I'm willing to live up to that comment, right? I'm really to accept the consequences of what they might do online later on. But I think society is going to change the way we view this stuff enormously. We already are. It's just, it's already happening. And I think in 5, 10 years, that's why I say it's fool's gold. I think the issue just goes away to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think I call this the privacy Rubicon because we haven't quite realized as a society that we've passed it. But at the same time, you know, we have privacy as we used to define it is over. It's now something that actually has to be taught and steered in how we sort of craft what people find in their results or what people see. And that if you think about just what it's going to take for us to get there, we have several years of conditioning, learning, understanding, comprehending, you know, embracing what's going on. But at the end of the day, we have to be mindful as it's affecting us as well as it's affecting our kids, and think about what teachers and professors are going through at the same time as well, because they're trying to understand their role in all of this. Yet it's an important role that I don't think they quite realize yet. But at the same time, the kids or the younger adults that they're trying to teach know more about this than they do. So it's a very important time ahead, and I think we all have to take the responsibility of helping those around us.
And I'll add, in my children's schools, the school takes an active role in discussing the implications of things they may do in social media on their college applications, right? They start talking to them about it in their freshman year, day one. It's part of the, you know, part of the package of when they're coming in. They start talking about it. So the kids understand. I mean, they should understand. There are consequences.
Is the focus positive or negative is the question. And we had one other question over here. We'll take that quickly, even though we're going over time. So quick answer.
I think they talk about it more from the negative perspective. What, you know, because I think that's the bigger risk at that stage.
Show off that you're on the honor roll.
There you go.
Question here.
Yeah, okay, I'm Francis from Quantra. I did the cold water swimming thing, and basically I'm interested in knowing from you guys what kind of new exciting sensors are coming.
Cedric.
Because there's a guy on stage doing brainwave stuff right now. Is that like 1 year from now, or 5 or 10?
What are the next sports sensors?
So, as regard to our products, I'm sorry, please stay tuned for our announcement at the CES. We will announce
come on, you can tell us here. You can tell us here.
So this is very short term. It's next January 2011.
But maybe in general, though, what kinds of products will we be seeing or start doing, whether it's just for ourselves or what we share?
No, I think that there are a lot of products which can benefit from tracking for you automatically, again, without adding you know, any further step or any routines complexity in your life, but that will help you engage in more self-conscious monitoring on certain, you know, certain of your health parameters. So
will I see some pots and pans that tell me how many calories I'm about to cook? And how many grams of fat I will have?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's existing today. One of our partners is Daily Burn, and they enable with an iPhone app to scan the barcode of the nutrition and to set the intake that you're taking, and of course to cross it with your weight monitoring. So that's a very important part.
Good.
Okay, we have time for one more question, if there is one. There is none. Okay. Fantastic. I would like to get a great round of applause, please, for Brian and his great panel.
Thank you. Thank you.